This year's RIMPAC, or Rim of the Pacific exercises, saw several notable accomplishments. RIMPAC is the world's largest maritime warfare exercise, designed to prepare the U.S. and its allies for war in one of the most massive places on the planet, the Pacific Ocean. RIMPAC 2024 saw 25,000 warfighters from 29 different nations participate. Of course, those folks had to get there somehow, so 40 surface ships, 3 submarines, and more than 150 aircraft also took part in this year's exercises. Not to mention all the equipment and gear from the 14 national land forces taking part as well. This year's RIMPAC really focused on joint operations in every sense of the phrase. So integrated dive teams practiced recovery operations, partner nations cross-trained on urban search and rescue, fast roping, anti-mining techniques, but the biggest event is always the sinking exercise, or SINKEX. This year's RIMPAC featured 2 SINKEXs. The decommissioned vessels USS Dubuque and USS Tarawa were both blown apart by some of the latest and greatest maritime weaponry available. Now, the actual footage of the weapons impacting the ships is not available just yet. When it is, rest assured, we will show it to you. So, while we can't show you the ships sinking just yet, we can talk about how they were sunk. For starters, GA Aeronautical's MQ-9B Sea Guardian provided the fleet with the intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and targeting of the ships. With a ceiling of 40,000 feet, the Sea Guardian is an unmanned eye in the sky, an eye which can also drop bombs or, as we saw at this year's RIMPAC, sonobuoys, remote devices used to track enemy movements in and below the water. Once the signal intelligence from the Guardian made its way to the fleet forces, the live fire missions could begin. For the first time, the world saw what a U.S. Navy guided missile destroyer outfitted with a naval strike missile launcher looked like. An Australian destroyer also test-fired an NSM, which is known for its ability to skim the seas during flight before striking, staying under enemy radar and avoiding detection. Staying on the water, where the Navy says it used one of its common unmanned surface vessels, or CUSVs, to test-fire Poniard rockets during the SINKEX drills. Made in South Korea, Poniards are considered low-cost options for dealing with smaller, faster-moving surface threats. Now, as I told you earlier, this year's RIMPAC really focused on joint operations, which means combining various elements and forces from different departments, maybe different militaries, and putting it all together under a single command structure. For instance, a naval commander ordering an Air Force bomber to strike an enemy surface vessel is an example of a joint operation. So, RIMPAC practiced that too. And of all the stuff that happened at RIMPAC this year, this really caught my eye. Using the same sort of guidance systems for dropping bombs on land, the Air Force says one of its B-2 stealth bombers proved at RIMPAC the service is very close to fielding a low-cost, air-delivered method for defeating surface vessels. It's called QuickSync. The tech is not necessarily new, but it's not fully operational yet either. Once it is, QuickSync munitions could be a relatively low-cost way to disrupt an enemy's day on the water. Lockheed Martin's new long-range anti-ship missile, or LRASM, was also employed during the SINKEXs. Unveiled earlier this year, the LRASM promises to get the job done with little care given to the enemy's electronic countermeasures. LRASMs don't rely on GPS for navigation, so once they find a target, they tend to hit it. And after months of rumors and speculation, we now have some confirmation. This Navy jet fighter is sporting an SM-6 missile, although in this setup, it's called the AIM-174B, signifying its primary use in air-to-air missions. Why does it matter? Well, the SM-6, or Standard Missile 6, is described as 3 missiles in one, able to perform anti-air and anti-surface warfare, as well as take out ballistic missiles if necessary. Its exact range is classified, but it's said to be over 200 miles when launched from the surface. A conservative figure from the Navy, no doubt. But This same SM-6, now in an air-launched configuration, will be effective to a much further distance. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles. So any country thinking its planes are going to get anywhere near US ships, not happening. Also, lest we forget, the SM-6 is still capable of hitting ground targets and ballistic missiles. So the air launch component really takes the versatility on the SM-6 and cranks it to 11. Now, taken individually, each one of these new weapon systems poses a significant threat to any adversary. When combined together and used in coordination with an international joint strike force, it starts to paint a picture of a fighting force so strong, the thought of challenging it becomes absurd. I'm Ryan Robertson. For more reports on the U.S. military and its operations around the world, be sure to download the Straight Arrow News app today or log on to straightarrownews.com.